Night City is one of the most beautiful cities in any game, but behind all the neon lit signs, cool cars, and dancing women are some of the most horrific fates you can ever imagine. Yo, what up guys? My name's Ian and I recently hit 100,000 subs making Cyberpunk videos. Dude, isn't that kind of sick? But with the holiday season fast approaching, I thought it would be cool to talk about some scary secrets that you missed in Cyberpunk 2077. I don't want to waste your time, so let's just move on to the first one. Night City's ugly, period. Sure, it's got neon lights and beautiful Native American women, but there's heartbreak and trauma around every corner. And what if I said there was even a secret torture ring operating right under your cute little nose? This is Cyberpunk's secret Ghost of War and Operation Terror. To find it, travel to the pumping station in Haywood. This will take you to the old Wellsprings water facility, once a vital part of the area. Now, it's a wasteland home to the lost and forgotten, a breeding ground for something darker. Make your way around the side and climb down to the beach. There you'll find a shack nestled between two giant columns. Climb over some barrels onto the roof, then sneak to the back and look down. There's a dumpster and two bodies. Drop down and there's another. Step into the shack and it gets worse. Two more bodies, one slumped in a chair and the other with a gunshot wound to the head. This is Leo Wood, and his story, pure terror. See, Leo was ex-military, a man broken by war, and in his twisted mind the Militech war never ended. He contacted his old captain, convinced Operation Terror was still a go. His orders? Capture, torture, and record every moment. Leo kidnapped 5 innocents, subjecting them to terror tactics and scattering the recordings for people to find. In a final twist, his captain fed him a lie. The enemy was closing in, and Leo couldn't be captured alive. He understood that part perfectly. But what makes this secret so scary is that Leo's story mirrors so many real-life nightmares. Take Hiro Onoda, a Japanese soldier who fought for decades after World War II ended, or Shoichi Yokoi, a sergeant found after 28 years, still fighting in the jungles of Guam. These are real ghosts of war, men who never escaped their war-defined realities. And even in fiction, ghosts of war exist, like in Ghost in the Shell episode 10, where a former soldier still believes he's on a covert mission, and he even uses the same brutal tactics as Leo onto the nearby population. Leo's just one more name in the long list of horrors that Night City hides so well. But let's pause for a second. What's scarier than getting kidnapped? Well, how about getting kidnapped and being held captive for months on end with no way out? Deep in the Badlands of Cyberpunk is another scary secret. This is the kidnapping of Nicole. And Cloverfield fans, get ready to lose your shit. Head to the eastern edge of the Badlands. Just south of a bend in a road, you'll find a cluster of old windmills. Long ago, these windmills powered Night City. Now they just collect dust. We want to find the broken one because guess what's underneath? A hidden bunker. And inside, 2 lifeless bodies. The man in the back is eaten away by acid, and he's clutching a journal that tells the story. It turns out that Nicole is the woman in front. This man saved her, only to imprison her, convinced she'd be safer under his wing. In his twisted mind, he believed she'd one day love him back and see him as her savior. Well, spoilers ahead, she didn't. If it isn't already obvious, the entire thing's the nod to 10 Cloverfield Lane. In the film, a woman named Michelle is captured by a man named Howard. He tells her the air outside is toxic. Michelle escapes, but not before giving old Howard a golden shower. Of acid, that is. Sound familiar? The difference here is that Michelle escapes only to face an alien invasion. But here's a question, which is worse? An alien apocalypse or a wasteland crawling with psychotic drugged out gangers and souped up death machines? Honestly, I take my chances. Back in the bunker, cuddling up with Howard. And here's another chilling cyberpunk truth. No one is who they seem in Night City. Everyone has a secret. Take Elizabeth Wissenfirth, better known by her street name Lizzie Wizzy. By day, she's Night City's radiant pop princess, but at night, she's a chromed out monster teetering on cyberpsychosis. And that's just one example. Here's the dark secret of Lene Borowitz and Night City's serial killer. Fast travel to Skyline and Republic at the northern tip of city center. Then, turn around and walk up the stairs. Walk down the alley and feel the tension in the air. On your right are some Arasaka goons causing trouble, but on your left, hidden in plain sight, is a fenced off area, and a bloody tripod on the ground. Hop the fence and follow the blood to a crate containing the body of Lene Borowitz. And next to her, an audio recorder, a pile of cash, and a shard telling the truth. Lene was a reporter investigating a killer operating in Night City. She had a tip from someone who claimed to know the monster personally, but here's where things took a turn. When Lene pressed for details, they responded.
I do know the killer. Very well, in fact. Since birth you could say.
How alarms didn't go off in her head, I'll never know. Still, she was determined, and she agreed to meet downtown alone. And you already know how that story ends. A monster hiding in plain sight, and a tale as old as time. Be careful who you trust in Night City. And don't forget, monsters are real in Cyberpunk, and that includes Sasquatch, Chimera, and the child-eating Baba Yaga. Let me explain. See, in Slavic folklore, the Baba Yaga is a monstrous old woman who lures children into her hut and eats them. It's a bedtime story meant to scare kids, but here's where to find Cyberpunk's very own. Fast travel to Mega Building H2 and follow the stairs down. On your right will be a fire pit, right in front of a giant pipe. Climb over the pipe and what do you see? An old wooden shack, the perfect lair for a child-eating monster. The door's locked, and the only way in is through a small child-sized hole in the back. Crawl through and everything changes. Bloody tools, filthy rags, and a plastic tarp hanging from the ceiling. All things that are never a good sign. Push forward and in the back you'll find her. The body of a woman, her face painted white staring lifelessly ahead. And her netrunner name? Yaga. See, Yaga hunted children through the net, luring them in with treats and games right into her trap. Her last victim was a kid named Johnny, desperate to find his missing sister. Little did she know Johnny was hunting her. When Yaga finally gave up her location, Johnny made his intentions known. So yeah, monsters are real in Night City, but thankfully, heroes are too. You go, kid. Leave a comment below for Johnny. And here's another scary one. Did you find the secret occult campfire in Cyberpunk? Yeah, you heard right. The occult campfire. And you'll need to do 3 things to find it. First, skip time until it's 3 AM. This is the witching hour, when spirits grow restless and the veil between our worlds is thinnest. Second, travel to the desert film set. This is where our journey starts. And third, walk north. Just north. At first it'll feel pointless, there's nothing out here, but after some time you'll see it in the distance, a flicker of light, a campfire. You're not alone. There are people dancing around the flames, but wait, stand for 30 seconds and it'll happen. You'll lose control of V and the people are gone. Each has a name and one holds the story of Luis Torres. See, Luis was a man obsessed with uncovering the dark truth of a cult, and in the shard he discovers the final piece, a ritual, a twisted dance and whispers to an unseen force in the flames. In his final words, he warns, be careful which one you invite to your fire. Fingers crossed it's not too late for us. But this Cyberpunk secret's not for the faint of heart or faint of stomach. So if you're eating ground beef, please put it down and listen. This is what I call Jay Kermith and his secret stomach problems. In Cyberpunk, brain dances are incredible things. They're a technological marvel that lets you replay another's experiences. But in Night City, there also exists a market for XBDs, or illegal brain dances. These feature the most twisted and vile acts imaginable, and Jay himself is a creator. Let's just say his art is fattening up people with scop until they can't take it anymore. But check this out. Fast travel to Republican Vine in Haywood, just south of the bridge into Japantown. Turn around and take a right into the nearest alley. Follow this all the way down. The deeper you go, the more tense it'll feel. Vendors turn to the lost and eventually you'll cross a gate leading into another passage. But before you cross the gate, look to your left. There's a small shack, and in a crack in the wall, you'll find a glimpse of a man slumped face down in a chair. That man is Jay. The door's blocked, but there's another way in through a hole in the roof. Drop down and you'll find an empty can. Weird, right? But that's just a start. Turn the corner and it's an unspeakable sight. Jay's chained to a chair with a bursted stomach, right in front of a plate of meat. So what happened? Well, Jay's no stranger to XBDs. In fact, he received an anonymous message one night from a fan who admired his work. They had a request, something special, and Jay was happy for the right price. They set a date and the fan promised Jay the cast would be arriving soon. But here's the kicker. Jay was the cast all along. In a twist of fate, Jay was forced into an XBD of his own making to see how much a man could eat, specifically how much meat he could eat, until his stomach couldn't take it anymore. It's probably one of the grossest things I've seen, and I say this in the nicest way possible. If you're a Cyberpunk dev watching, you might need some therapy. Still love you though. And this here is the darkest secret in Cyberpunk. I mean it when I say it's probably one of the worst I've seen. And it's one of the reasons why I think Maelstrom is the worst gang in Night City. Beyond the neon-lit streets of Japantown and Little China lies the Northside Industrial District. Folk like to call it Northside for short. And in Northside, there's nothing but factories. The Maelstrom claimed this area, and these robotic freaks used the buildings as hideouts, warehouses, and studios for their illegal businesses. And if you head towards the most northern part of Northside, you'll find 2 towering smokestacks, and beneath them is a smaller building, barely noticeable, and it houses Maelstrom's worst operation. But it gets worse. When you approach the area, you'll see smoking remains of cars and bodies all over, and in the middle a figure stands out, a corpo, slumped back with a blade buried inside. See, the corpo had come to Barely Illegal to buy something fresh, and Maelstrom was more than happy to provide. So they gave him a terrified young girl fresh off the streets of Night City, and after the act was done, the corpo realized the truth. The girl was his own daughter. He passed from shock, and in a panic, Maelstrom ripped out his biomon to prevent Trauma Team from arriving. But thankfully, we can safely assume that Trauma arrived to clean house. And this here is why Maelstrom is the worst gang in Night City.